Okay, so now we get back to development of our authentication page. That's where we had stopped off, and then we took a detour, if you remember, where we had to customize our phones, we had to customize our assets. So we are back. Okay, the first thing we are going to change is this part here. It's up to you. Like, you can decide, I want to have the header displayed for my application's views, or I don't want it. I don't want the header to be always present. Like, I want to change it. The name, for example, the name here is auth. Like this one, maybe something else. It will change to something else. So I don't want to display the header, this whole white section. So all you need to do is to simply say screen options, and then you say header shown, header shown, and then you say false. So that should take off the header part, and then you're just left with the content part, and then you can add your own, like maybe custom headers and so forth. So for our case, we will be having a custom header. Okay, now so far so good. Now we need to have our authentication component have its own understanding of login and sign up parts. So the first thing we are going to say is, wait, we don't have a way of authentication to know this is the part that I want content to be, this is the other part that I want content to be. So all we need to do is to simply say const auth stack. Again, remember, the stack is what decides, like pop going forward, going backward, popping off of the stack, navigation, and so forth. So it's just this one is the same, like create a native stack navigation. So it's good to always type create native stack navigation, navigator, and then you take this, okay, and then again we return as we did before, but now in this case everything that is navigated will be within the auth scope. So here we can have auth stack dot navigator. So it's a navigator for things that are within the auth component. Okay, but how does the application actually know where to go, how to render, how to display? Let's see. The first thing, we notice that our login and sign up components, they are empty. Yeah, so we have to create, first of all, a new file in here, and the new file, it will be auth, like we can call it auth login component tsx. Okay, so that means that our component, this login component, being a component, it needs to return something, and it needs to render something before, like, it can actually be used, as we saw before. So return a view. For now, let's just return a view, and then we say, like, this view will have maybe a styling, style height of 100%, and then here we just say content is a simple text, and then you notice you notice now there's also text in React Native SVG and also in React Native. Make sure you use the one from React Native. So we say, like, this is the auth login, and then you notice the error that you had before for where we need to import React, and this is another linter error which we will get back to in a few. Okay, so in the index.ts file, all we need to do is to now we say auth stack screen, okay, and then this screen is a self-closing screen. It will have a name, the name is login, okay, and then the other thing that it will have is a component, and the component in this case is auth login component, and that's it. Okay, so why is this complaining? Okay, it's complaining because you didn't close it. Yeah, so far so good. And then we see again we have login as a header. So one thing you have noticed that, yes, we said here we don't want headers shown within this navigator, but now we are in the auth navigator. That means you have to also say here header options, what is it? Sorry, screen options, header shown is also false in this case. So when we do that, the header should go, and then this is not looking so nice. Let's actually go to the login component, and then we give this a background color of something that is more like let's say color white. The background is white, and then these texts, let's give it a color of black. Okay, so we have that, so that is good. Okay, so the other thing is I want to explain is the order, but before we get to that, let's add another screen where we call this screen login. We call it auth sign up component, tsx. Okay, so we say export the constant. Again, remember you have to always return something from your components, and then here is a simple view, and again we just specify the style, and then height is 100%, width is 100%, and then background color of white, and then we have the text, then we have auth sign up component, style is black. Okay, so that's it. Then again just import I don't know why it keeps complaining that for the React part, but this one just ignore it. We'll get to this in a few. Okay, let's go back to our routes, and then for the auth component, it has its own route. So you notice we have now we no longer need to deal with the app.ts and route.ts for the app. Now we are going to be this is what we are talking about. As we narrow down, we stop focusing on so much. We only focus on very few things. Okay, now we have to add now our auth stack. We add another screen, and then the name is sign up, and then this is a component, and then this is a sign up component. Okay, but why didn't it display? That's what you are talking about, the order. So you can specify the initial screen to render here, okay, the initial route name that needs to be rendered, or you can change the order so that whatever is first is displayed as the first one. Okay, so okay, yeah, all we needed to do is to restart, because remember we faced this error. When we faced the error, the auto reload broke. So whenever you see you're making changes and nothing is happening, you just have to close the app and then restart it again. So let's do this actually, what we're trying to understand. Yeah, now it's auto reloading, as you have noticed. So if we change the order, then the login should come first, and then the other one should come later on. But let's close this again. We close this, and then we open it. We should see login as the first one. Yes. So you notice that these are the things that I was like way back at the start. We were saying, like, when you want to restart like the whole app, auto reload may not work in all cases, and a classical example is this one, such as routing. But some features like UI changes, they'll work. So that's why when we do this, for example, nothing changes, but when we restart the app, it actually updates. Okay, updating to sign up. But we can actually, let's initial route name, we say it's login, it still doesn't work. But if we restart again, it should show login. Yeah, so that's something you have to bear in mind. Like whenever you are making the changes, like you can, in times when you see changes are not being reflected, just restart your application, and then the changes should reflect. Okay, so I believe so far so good. Now let's see how we can now start working on our login. Let's go to login, and then we will see like it has like wait, and then this one's supposed to be actually in the sign up folder, not in the login. So it should be like that. Yes. Okay, so let's go to login. So here in login, we want to get rid of this linting error. So what is this? Like, it's trying to tell us, make sure that you isolate your styling from your component. Yeah, this is a component, and then the styling should come later on. Let's create a new file. We just call it styles.ts. You notice this is a TS file, just like our constants, because it is not going to be rendered. It's not a React renderable component. It can be something else like a function, but we'll go with a simple thing like, for example, we export constant. What I like doing, instead of just saying like styles, because like we'll end up having so many styles, what I like doing is I just copy the name of the component which you want to apply the styles, then I just do this. I just say that so that we know these are the auth login component styles. Then for you to have styles in React Native, like for example, let's look at this one. You have this style. When you hover on style, you'll notice that it is something of more of this, like this one. When you hover on this, it's a style prop. So what is this? All you need to do is to like style sheet, you create style, you create the styles, then they are an object. So let me drag this one down here. So for example, this is the view, the whole container. Like in web, you may have it, think of this as a div, think of this as a div, or even maybe a section, but we will go with the idea of this is a wrapper, something that contains things that go together. So the whole container, in this case, like we can change the color maybe to red, it will be the whole of it, like the whole height of this container, and that's the name that you are going to go with. For example, this container, we take all these styles here and then we paste them just there, save this, we copy that, and then we just do this container, we just import it first, then we go with container. Notice that we no longer have the double curly braces at the start. You could have them and have them like this as a spread operator, but as a spread operator, but we will see, like we will see cases where these are needed, but for now let's just have it like that. It's the same. So if we change it in the styles now, we say maybe it's blue, we should have the same appearance. Okay, so the same should go for the header section, like the text in this case. Okay, I believe that's it so far. Now the next step is actually displaying what we had. If we remember, we have a view that has a header section, and the header section itself, it has like the form, and then it also has a link to navigate to other parts of the application. Okay, but the question we should ask ourselves, like, wait, the header section, if we recall correctly, it is repeated in two parts. The first part is in the sign up, the second part is in the login. So that tells you something. Shared component, like shared header, shared logo section, shared components. So in this case, we can create a new folder, and then we say header. We can call it header or logged out header. So maybe we say auth, because it's in the auth scope, we call it auth header. Okay, and then here we just say a new file, auth header dot shared for the header component tsx. Okay, and then we come and we say okay, just a minute. We say okay, I believe my mouse is misbehaving, so I'll have to type this out. So we just export constant auth header component. You can have it namespace as shared or not, it's up to you. Like we can start with, like, for example, shared or the header component, because we may have a shared maybe in the app. It's up to you. Yes, and then this one, it will do something, return a view. Okay, so this view, it will be like this one. For example, in this case, we have the first part, which is a logo. Let's actually have placeholder logo section. It goes here. The other part is a title section. Will go here. Okay. So we now proceed. Let's just make sure that everything is okay there. Okay, like so we can come here. The good thing about React, You don't have to tell this component that we have this shared component that you're going to use. No, all you need to do, you created it, yes, so you know, like, I need to use it here, and that's it. That's it. So when you say, like, for example, here it's in the shared, we can have a simple text to remind us that I am in the shared scope. In the shared, I am in shared, and that's what we have. Okay, so far so good. Now we want to make sure that this view, it also has its own styles. Yeah, it has its own styling. We create a new file whereby we say styles.ts. okay, and then we come and we say, so for me, I like prefer having the one view at the top, one at the bottom, for example, styles at the bottom and the views, like the UIs at the top. So in this case, we'll have export constant shared with component styles, and then again just stylesheet.create container. Okay, and then we give it like a height once again of 100% and width of maybe 100%. So why are we doing this this way? Remember, this is a shared component, so shared components will always take the space that they have been given in their parent. Yeah, so for example, if we give this height of 100% in its own scope, and then in the parent, in this case in the login, if we give the login, for example, height of if we give this shared header component a height of 50 pixels on the header component, on the login component, it will take that much. Okay, so here we come and we say this one, we take this, and then we say style styles.container. okay, so far so good, and then it should have that. Let's give it even like maybe a background color of green, so we have it taking the whole space. Yeah, so if we give it maybe 10, it will take 10, but that's not what we want. We want the parent to drive its height. So in this case, for example, we will do this. We will just say a view, in this case the header section, will engulf the header component, and then this one, it will take. So this is the container, and then we have our container header section. So these are like name spacing, like child elements. It's up to you. You can choose an approach that is best for you. So this one, let's give it a height of maybe 20% or 20 pixels or 20 screen densities, like. So here we come and we say auth login component styles dot header. So you notice it changed. So it stopped being like available to the whole like screen, and actually it took the space that it was given. So if we come here and we change this to 40, you see it increases based on the screen size that is given. Okay, that is good. Now we want to make sure that at least we separate our section from the header, and then now we have our content, the content part. So the content part, in this case, we give it a view again, and then we come and we add the style container content, and then we say this content section, we have style auth login component, the content. Okay, so one thing we have to do is to go to our shared. So one thing, I believe we made a mistake here, whereby we gave it a height of 100%. Let's give it a width of 100%, and then whatever height it will be given by its parent, that's the height that it will take. Okay, so here we will start off by saying, okay, I want that my header section to grow, like it will grow based on the height that it is given. But for the content section, I want the content section to be like fully, like it should occupy the whole available space. And in this case now, when we want to actually customize our header, we can do so with, for example, we add the padding, and then we say maybe 24 pixels, things like those. Okay, so the other thing that we could do, the other thing that we could do is say like, okay, we give our header section, our content section, maybe 8, and then we give our header section, flex of 2, and that's how it is. So flex divides the available space into ratio. Think of this as 2/10, the total space, like 2 plus 8 is 10, 2/10, then this one gets 2, and then this one gets 10. Okay, so the way we want our UI to look is like this. Okay, so for that reason, we will start off by saying, okay, how big should maybe our header be? Maybe we give this one maybe the header section, we say this one could take maybe a flex of 1, and then the rest of the content could take a flex of 9. Yeah, so it will be 9:1 ratio, because the header section is at the top. It's not at the center here, it's way at the top. So we can say like this is a ratio of 9:1. Okay, so we continue from here, and we say like we need to add our logo. So our header should have our logo, and then it should also have a personal journal title. So those are the first things that you are going to add. And then here in the header section, remember it's in the auth header section. Yeah, so we will have two sections. Like the first section is the logo section, and I believe we already know how to use logos based on the tutorial on setting up the assets. So we just say logo SVG, we import it from, we go from remember, you just do that, and then to get back or forth the paths, and then logo SVG, and then this one we will just say like logo SVG, and then here we come and we say the text is a personal journal. Okay, so that's it. We should see something like that doesn't look like so appealing. So let's start. How are we going to do this? Let's add something here. The first thing we are going to add is our container, the SVG, or we call it logo, because SVG is so abstract, we call it logo. And then here we come and we say like the title, container title. Okay, then we say this one, we say the height equals to shared header dot logo dot nothing, because we haven't added like the height. We have to have the height, then the height is a 32 pixel one, or 32 screen density, or 32 screen size. Yeah, and then here we say a width of 32 as well. So we come and we say the height now is available, and also the width, it will be available as well. So here we come and we say container logo dot width, and that should be it. Okay, so it's here. So let's see what is the best size. Maybe for this one, maybe 48. Let's try 48 and see. Yeah, it looks nice. Now we get to the title part. Okay, so the title part should simply be a font family of font. We remember our fonts. We say a Poppins of bold. In this case, it's bold. And then it should have a size, font size. Maybe we can start with 18 pixel, 18 screen sizes, and then it doesn't apply yet because we haven't specified here on the style container title, and that's it. But the color seems a bit weird, so we have to say color is black. Yeah, we specify the color. So why does it display like this? Why is it not showing it horizontally? That's the other thing we need to understand. By default, React Native's view, it will show content in a column layout format. Column layout is top all the way down. So for example, in this case, we have our container. This container, it is showing in column layout, top down format. But then we have to change this one to show in a horizontal format. And this auth header, all we need to do is flex direction. Yeah? We say you don't want it to be column because column is a default. You want it to be row so that it will display in a horizontal manner, and that's nice. It switched from down and it came here. Okay, now the other thing is to specify the alignment of these items. For example, alignment decides like where it will be displayed on this container, in this view. Yeah, so we can say align items. You have a couple of options. So when you align them at the center, it will take them down like to the center position. Yeah, so we say center you see, like this one, they have a common position. Like let me undo that in a bit. So you see, by default, personal journal is at the top, like it's aligned at the top, yeah, and the journal logo is at the top as well. So actually, let's do this. We say background color of blue is fully covered, yeah. And actually, it's because we haven't applied the style. So style should be shared header dot container logo. Yes, okay, so let's change this one to be maybe something much more, maybe something much more, yeah. So we have this and this, but what we need to do is to make sure that this one, they go hand in hand, like in our design. The header title is at the center of the logo. Yes, okay, so all we need to do is to say we align the items at the center. You notice the size of the title collapses, it decreases, and it actually aligns itself to the center position of the whole header section. So let's see, we set the header section background color so that we see what it is. We say maybe this, not orange, maybe purple. Now you see, like that's what we are having, like this, it takes the whole space. That brings the question, what will happen if this one actually gets to be larger? This should be pushed always to the center. If you say it's a height of 64, for example, you see it's being pushed. So that's it. Now we are left in that position whereby we have to move this to the center, because we see in our design, like it's almost at the center of the section itself. So here I believe all we need to do is to say, like actually let's remove let's keep this one so that we see the transition, and then we go back to our header, like our design of the login. Then we say the header itself, we want to also align items, yeah, at the center. We have added like align items at the center, but aligning items at the center will work on the orientation. Like remember, the orientation in this case is top to down, like top to bottom. By default, the orientation is always column, and then you change it to row, but we don't want to change it to row, we want to keep it as it is. So instead of align item center, we have to say justify content center, so that the content will be at the center. If we remove this, it will be at the top by default, but if we add this, it will be pushed to the center. Okay, so the question is, why are we not able to set this at the center? We want to move it to be almost maybe at the center. This actually should be at the center. All we need to do is to update something. Here in the auth header, we gave it a width of 100%. So if we remove this, it should actually have a custom width, and the size of the width should be like enabling us to not have it fully. So we can say like align items center. Yes, so you see, like it collapsed the size and pushed it to the center, and then we can now comfortably remove this. Then we can comfortably remove this, and then this as well, and finally this one we can remove it. So that's what we have so far. It's looking nice. And one more thing we need to add is a column gap. So column gap, again, in this okay, React Native items, they are rendered in this section, they are rendered as rows. Yes, so if something is rendered as rows, so it's row 1. Think of it this way. Let me just draw something here, maybe row 1, then we have gap, row 2, then we have gap, row 3. Is the same here. We have journal, the logo itself is row 1, then we have the title as row 2, and then in between these two rows there is a column gap. So this one here, think of it as a column gap, and that is the thing that you are going to add. So a column gap maybe of 12 should, you see, like it pushes the content far away from one another based on that column gap. So I believe that is clear, and I believe we have finished the header part of our design. Okay, now the next part is here. So how are we going to do this? Let's think about it. This is the content section. The content section has a header, it has the form, and it has an instruction, a footer section, where a user can click and they can go to the sign up page. Okay, let's break it down actually, and we see the first part, this should be a view, this one should be a form, and rather there are no forms in React, rather there is in React Native, you don't have like a form, you have a view, and in the view you have the input fields, and then here we have a password field, and then here we have a login field, login button, and then finally we have a link here. Yeah, so that means we have 3 views, and then the first one, here we are going to say like this is the first view, the second and the third. So the first view should be our login title, and then we have the content. So we have this title section, then we have this the form, then in the form we will have our fields. Okay, then inside the fields we will have a button, inside the form also we'll have a button, then finally we have a instruction section. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now we can decide, let's start off styling things, or we can just add content then we style later. I believe let's start with the approach of adding content, then we'll style it later. Or the login, the title here is login, and then this will give us an error. A view cannot have like a direct text. All you need to do is to wrap it inside like a text. Okay, so this is the title section, but then you ask like, then what is the purpose of this view wrapping just a simple text? There is nothing else here in. So all you need to do, as we said, don't overbreak things down. If it's not needed, it's not needed. Like we just have it like this, and that should be it. Yeah, like that, and that should be it. So we have a login title. Good. So we come here again, we say like this other section is going to be auth login, and then we have container, and then we have our form, and then finally we have our style, and then we have auth login, and then we have our instructions, this part. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now we have our section. Let's look at our instructions, and we will see it's also a simple text. There is nothing here, like it's just a simple text that has like this question, you don't have an account yet, you can sign up when you click on it. Okay, let's go back here. That means we don't want to break things down or nest things unnecessarily, and then so we change this to a text, and that will make things a bit easier for us, because all we need to do, we'll say instructions, and then we add a new namespace here, regular text. Okay, then we come here, instructions regular, and then instructions link. Okay, so instruction regular will be this part, and instruction link will be this other part. So we come here and we say, okay, our form, the way it is, it has nothing, just it has nothing. So we have to add like input, and you notice like we have a couple of input or autocomplete. Make sure you take the text input, and then it self-encloses itself. So we need 2 of these, and again, for now, let's just use them like this. We will refactor this later on when we come to creating shared components, because we see like we will need the input fields in sign up also, and also when creating our entries. And also the other thing we will need is the button, and the button also we will have to share it later on. So we say a button, for you to use a button, you have to use a touchable highlight, for example, or a similar highlight. And then this one, it's not self-enclosing because you need text inside it, so you have to say like maybe text, and then maybe in this case it's login. Yeah, as a user I log in. So I believe so far so good. Don't worry about the styling, we will get to the styling in a few. Okay, let's understand what we have so far. Nothing at all, but we see we click and we get like a input field, and the what is it, the keyboard actually displays. Okay, so far so good, but like it's really what is it, it doesn't look so nice. Yeah, so let's see, we can start with our title. Let's start with the title, and when we come back here, and again, this is just the image. Most of the time you'll have like your own design system set up on Figma or something similar. If we approximate the distance between the login title and the form, maybe this can be maybe 24 pixels, and also here down 24 screen pixels. So we can say a row gap. Now this is a row gap because it's 1 row, 2 row, 3 row. This is a row gap, and this is also a row gap. So when you get back to our code, we will say that our content section, okay, it has, and actually before that, let's do this background color of blue. And then you notice one thing, I normally add background to sections as I'm designing. That way, like, you get to have like a more of an average idea of how things are going to appear. And then finally we have our section, this part here, purple. Okay, so it's like that. But now we want to break them like down, to separate them with a row gap of maybe, let's say we said 24. I think 24 looks nice so far, because we will also need to account for the paddings and things like those. So if we get back here, we have let's say, first of all, could we maybe move this to the center to have them like here at the center of the page? No, that doesn't work. So it's like justify content center. So we push them all the way to the center of the page. Okay, that seems a bit weird, but it's good so far. So let's see if we can actually give this one a flex of maybe 6, so that at least things don't seem so off of the screen. And maybe we adjust again. You experiment with you get to experiment with this, so that you get to actually understand which one like works best for you. And if we do that, then that means that we can actually not have this here. Yeah, they moved to the top. And then this one, now we can say align items as it's a text. So if it's a text, we say text align, we say it's center, so it will push it to the center. And then we say maybe a padding. Remember, padding, you can have multiple paddings. You can have padding bottom, top, vertical. So all you're interested in is vertical. Vertical will give you padding for top and bottom. So maybe say, let's say padding of 12, and then the title itself, which is a font, a text, so we give it font family or font Poppins, and then we give it a bold one, and then we give it a color of black. Then we have this, and then font size of maybe 18. Okay, so far so good. We can get rid of our background color. Okay, I think it looks pretty much there. So the next thing is the bottom part, this part here. Okay, here inside it, we are going to have the first text, which is don't have an account yet, and then you can sign up. Okay, so we can say like, let's have it like this, don't have an account yet. Then we add another text inside here, and then the user, like, is it capital? Okay, we say the user can sign up. Okay, so this one is a regular one. So if we save this for now, like, nothing happens, because this one, it only has a background. So we say a font family or font Poppins, we say regular. We should see that. Then the other thing we need to do is to say, like, this text, it has to align center. It's a text align center. We move to the center. Then we have this part here, the link itself. The link should have only one thing, color, which is blue. And then we come back to our code, to our component, and then we say this is a style, and then we say auth login component style container link, and we have blue, and then that's that's pretty much it on that part. Does it have an underline? Yes, it has an underline. So we can say a border bottom or text decoration, text decoration line, underline, and that's it. So we can remove this purple now. So I think it's starting to take shape. Okay, but nothing happens. When we click on this, nothing happens. So that means it has to respond to our click events. So it calls for a touchable highlight, and then inside this is where we have our text, and then here we say on press. So what is this? On press is an event, like it's more of a like a click event. Whenever you click your button, or whenever a user touches the screen, that's an event that is registered. So in our case, on pressing, you fire an event like this will fire an event. Remember, you have to, it's like a callback. You are handling something. When that action happens, you do something here. So here we can say, let's say console log go to sign up. Okay, and then for our login also, it's a similar component, which is a touchable highlight. On press, we do this as well. We just console log here, submit, login. Okay, so let's just see what we have so far. We have this. Let's close this one. Let's close this one as well. Let's close this. Okay, so here, if we press on login, we see submit login. So far so good. If we press sign up, we see go to sign up. Okay, that's nice, but you see something weird. You see like the black highlight, like that black highlight. We need just to change one thing, and that we say underlay color for the touchable highlight. When we say this underlay color should be empty, it should not have anything, so we have it fixed, and that's it. Okay, now the other thing, you notice that our touchable highlight is actually a button, and that's why it pushed the content up. So let's say the style for this one, maybe for now, let's give it a background color of purple. Okay, and then we can say a padding vertical, because we want content to be like at least more, what is it, like the more organized or at the center. Like this one should be like center oriented, but that's not going to work. Like it's not going to work in the best way. Okay, so let's remove this. The other option that we have is to say, like in the text itself, we have align items, but remember this is a text. So let's see if it align items will work. Actually, let's see, justify content. Okay, so all we need to do, let's remove this first of all. Let's fix this really quick. We have it as a view, and then this one will be one section, this will be another section now. So we have a text, and then we have another touchable highlight, which is this one. We cut it from there, paste it there, and then we take this one, we cut it, we say like it will be here, and then the styles also, we just say this style will be from there, and then we paste it there. We'll paste it there, and then anything else, I believe this is it. We are done there, and then we save it. We get something that's not looking really nice, so we say content instructions. Let's take this, then we say content instructions, and then we say flex direction. Again, it's a row, so that it pushes content horizontally. I mean, it renders content horizontally instead of vertically. And then we say auth login dot instructions. So we have that. Okay, good. Then we align items to the center. Align items center. So I think it pushed it down a bit. So Then we say our column gap of maybe 12 again. Okay, that's too large. Let's say 8. Okay, and then let's comment this out. I think it's better to have it there at the center. No, not at the center, but by default. And then we say justify content center, so that they are pushed at the center. So far so good, and this also works as before. Okay, good. Okay, now the other part is finally getting to set up this form section. So here we are going to learn something like, for example, form validation. You cannot submit a form unless the inputs have been filled in. Yeah, like we need to have like the email is required and the password is required, and the user cannot like click on the button. Okay, let's start. So before that, actually, let's style this one a bit. Yeah, it looks really not the best of ways. Okay, so we have our form, and then our form, it has a field, and then actually we can remove these fields. Yeah, so we have that way. Okay, so we have our form, it has fields, and then we say style or login component styles dot field, and then we say this field, let's just give it maybe okay, and actually let's say our form should have a padding, a horizontal padding of maybe what is maybe 24, so that content moves a bit inward, like this, like here. And then you notice this part should actually match all the way to the top, the padding horizontal. So that gives us two options: setting the whole padding for the whole view, or a constant, and then we align it to the different UI sections. So like what we will do is we will say, okay, let's have a common padding, but no, let's just have it like that, because we already moved this to the center. So let's say our field, like let's say field will have a background color of orange, and actually orange, so that it kind of pierces in, and then this one we save. So we have those two things. Okay, but we don't want background here. We want a border color of maybe, I think it's that one, and then border width of maybe 1. So that's what we have, and then we say border radius of maybe 6. Yes, and then the other thing we need to do is to say this is a form, and then we have seen that there is a gap in between the sections. There is a gap here, there is a gap here. So we can say like we have one consistent gap between the fields, and one large gap between the fields and the button. So that's why we are going to do this. We say the form this, we create a new view. Again, we are not going to avoid it, so let's just create it. So we have our form, and then the fields that we removed, it was a bad idea to remove them. Fields, this one, then these fields is what should have this inputs, and then the content container form fields. Then we have all these namespace with that, and then that should be it. We paste this. Okay, so far so good. So that means that our fields, we can give it a row gap of maybe 12. So yes, that's good. And then our form, we can give it a row gap to separate between the fields and the button. We can give it a row gap of 32, and then that's good. Okay, so far so good. So let's see, our fields, they need something. They need a placeholder, for example. Where is it? Like you say, like a placeholder, maybe your username, and then a placeholder here, your password. Okay, that is good, but we want to make sure that our password section, it doesn't display like text like this. Yeah, so there is something like you can say in React Native, it's like this. It's called it's called, I believe it's called, let me remember, secure text entry, then we say it's true. Okay, so this one, yeah, it switched to password. Okay, so I think that's it. So form fields, let's say fields, this one should be underscore, and then let's tidy things a bit, and then we say padding horizontal, maybe of 6. Sorry, we didn't say this one. Yes, so it's a padding horizontal of 6, and then we say this one. Yeah, okay, so far so good. I think it's looking really nice. So let's finalize with our button. So this button, which is this one, so we say style equals to we go here. Okay, so let's begin, like background color of black. Okay, good. Then we say a padding of maybe vertical, actually vertical padding of maybe 12. Okay, and then we say text align center, no, align items center, because this is a button. It's more like, think of it as a view, or rather think of it as a clickable view. And then here we finally say like a font family for for this text, this one, style equals to font texts. We don't want this here, we want it in family of font Poppins. It's a bold one. Okay, so let's say this. Okay, so far so good. And then a color for this one, it will be white. All right, now let's add a bit of a border radius here, or maybe 8. Okay, so let's remove all the backgrounds like this one, and then the other background, remove it. Okay, so at least we have something that is working. But then one problem, the field themselves, they need to have a color, like so that at least it doesn't clash. So it's black. Then let's see, yes, it's black. And then I believe the fields, they have the other additional property whereby you can style the placeholder, and that property is called placeholder text color. We say black. So like for our password, it will be black, so we need to do the same for our username, like that, and that should be it. But then placeholder, we have our field, like we want to make sure that the font family is also Poppins regular. Yeah, so far so good. But this size seems a bit like it's too large. So font size, let's say 15, maybe 14, yeah, or maybe 13. Like that seems, yeah, I think 13 is good. Okay, so far so good. Now the other thing to finalize this part is this one, the instruction section, and the color, it should be black. Okay, so far so good. Now the other thing is we need to make sure that our form is validated, yeah. And actually, before doing that, let's continue with the part of setting up routing to the sign up page. So that's the thing we are going to introduce. No more styling. I believe we can safely close our styles, and then we now begin here. So we will start with a few hooks. Like we are going to use hooks and states. Like I believe those are the two things we are going to need in this tutorial. So the first section is the hooks, and then the other one is the states. Okay, states for form validation, and the hooks to help us, like things like navigation, like dispatching Redux actions. So the first hook we are going to need is the navigation. So for us to say, like we say const navigation, we say use navigation, yeah, and this one will be imported from React Native, React Navigation Native. So navigation, when we click the on pressing of sign up, all we need to do is this, like navigation dot navigate, okay, where to, like we need to go to sign up. Okay, so if we go all the way to our auth component, the index part, the name of our sign up component, the name of our sign up route is just sign up. Like when some can call it onboarding, some can call it register, but for us, we went to the sign up. So we say, like when we say sign up, we want to go to sign up. If we click this, we should be taken to sign up component. So that is good. If we go back, we go back to login. So far so good. So that's done. And then the other part, we notice that the button is clickable. It's clickable even when the user is not yet having a valid form. So what can we do in this case? We can add a new state. Like on the state, we'll say like constant form is valid. We say set form is valid, okay, and then we say use state, whereby this is a boolean, okay. By default the form is not a valid one, okay. So the next thing that we need to do is to simply say that here in this case, like we need handlers, like the handlers, or rather input fields that are going to validate our form. But if the form is not valid by default, then this should not be clickable, yeah. So we will say this, the touchable highlight for the sign up, for the login, we say that this one is disabled, okay. It will be disabled if the form is not valid, then it is disabled, and you see I can't click on it, but it will be misleading to the users. That means we need to add a bit of visual cue, yeah. We need a bit of visual cue, and again, I know we closed our styles, but we need to open it once again, and we add just a bit of view, a bit like of styling. And the first styling is this one. Let's button, okay, and then we add disabled disabled property, okay. Then we say opacity of this maybe is 0.5, okay. So how do we apply it here? You remember a while back we spoke a bit of spread operators, okay, like spread operators where you have to spread this object that you get all the properties here. That is beyond the scope. Like maybe I encourage you to go and check out JavaScript object spreading, or spreading JavaScript object. So all we need to do is we say, like, if the form is valid, if form is valid, then we use the default styles, like the default button, okay. However, okay, if the form is not valid, we need to do this. We use the default styles, but on top of the default styles, we also add the disabled, okay, the disabled property, okay. So, and that should be it. So you see, like the form is not clickable or anything. So I think that's it, and the user can actually see, wait, I need to fill something so that I can continue, okay. Okay, let's go all the way to the top now, and we add two more states. Like the first one is the username field, and the other one is the password field. So we say username field, and then we set username field use state, and then we say boolean. This is a string, and then by default is empty, and then this other one is your password. Then we say set user, or even just say set password, okay. So these two, they'll help us actually in the form validation. So let me explain something really quick. Form is valid, username is valid, password is valid. These are what will be used in the UI to display conditional logic to make custom look and feel, in our case, the button here. Then these ones, they are the setters. Think of this as the getter, and these are the setter, okay. And these ones, the setters, you actually just pass in the most recent value that you want displayed, or you want applied, or you want transforming the UI, okay. So how to do that? I normally add another method like a handlers. So in this case, when the input changes, we need to do something. When like I click this button, we need to do something. So like let's say for example const for example on field change or on input change, we need to do something, and that something that we need to do is to validate the field. Okay, I mean sorry, validate the user form. Okay, because a user may enter something, then they may erase it. But you notice one thing, why not just have one method called validate? Because the only reason for this is validation. So validate user form. Okay, then we say like here when the user text changes, like here the text input, it has an event emitter on text change or on change text, like it will give you the most recent text value. So in this case, username is the value that is going to be given, and then for this one also on change text we have a password. Okay, so these are strings. The only reason they are complaining is because they don't have a type, so not to worry about it. And then this one is also a string. So the first thing we are going to do is set username field. We set the username, okay, and then we call validate user form. All right, and then here we say the same, set password, and then we set it as password, and then we say validate user form. Okay, I believe why is it complaining? Okay, user password, like it's because it's already declared in the upper scope, so you can call this user password and then set user password. Okay, so far so good. Now in the validate user form, we are going to see like the most recent values. Whenever a field changes, we need to validate. Whenever a field changes, we need to validate. Okay, let's investigate that right now. Okay, so let's continue. One thing you notice that I want you to understand is this, like how React updates the state. Think of this as the state of the application when the application starts. All right, now as a user, I come here, I change a value. My expectation as a user is that the value that I have is actually what is the most recent one for the application that should drive actually even the UI. However, let's look at this. When we say we validate user form, but then you notice one thing, let me maybe decrease this a bit. One thing, you know, okay, here is when we say like, let's console log, let's just console log username, or let's increase this one, username field like that, and then the password also, and then this one is let's put them like this because I want you to learn something here. Okay, these ones I'll make the change here, so I want you to observe this part. So I change username to 1. You see, like the value on the form is 1, but the value before rendering, before the next render phase, before like the next change made by React is actually empty. So how do we get around this? Yeah, one thing you have to understand is that React has multiple renders. Like whenever something that is in the state changes, the next render cycle is called, and for you to be able to get hold of things like those, you have to use things that are called effects. Okay, so we have a use effect. In this case, this effect is, think of it as like, you see the way we have this application, like the whole app, we have these folders here, the node modules. Whenever node module changes, if I add something into the node modules, or if I remove something from the node modules that this application depends on, then there should be an effect. It's the same like these ones, they are depending, the application depends on these states for it to display something, for it to render something conditionally, for it to do something on the UI. So all your dependencies that you want to keep track of, they should go in this folder. In this array. In this case, we have a username field, and then we have a password. So when this changes, when a change is detected on this, then this effect will be invoked. Okay, so here we will say, like for example, let's console log so that we see the difference. Okay, so we say like use effect username. Actually, let's just copy it and not like type it. And then we have it like that. Let's reload. Okay, so let's clear that. And then we say like username, we updated it to 1. So validate will not have the most recent. Okay, however, effect, it has the most recent. So that means for us to keep track of the form validation or the forms like validity, we need to tap into the effects part. So if username, okay, and user password, if they are both there, then we can say set form as valid, as true, and that's it. So if we come and we say password is 1, you see now the form is valid. I can click it, I can submit it. But if, for example, I remove that, why is it not saying valid? Yeah, we have only focused on the valid part, we have not focused on the else part. Okay, so we say set form is valid to be false. But then you see one thing, this is so redundant. Why? We could just collapse this into one. Like right now it works, yes, and then there's this saying, if it works, don't touch it. But let's make it more concise and more readable. So let's say set form is valid, we just pick the true part. If the true part is false, then it will not work. We do that, and then we say argument of string. Why is it complaining? Set is valid. Okay, sorry, these are not equals to empty, and username empty. Yeah, so both of them, they have to be true. So if we say like 1 2 3 4, and it's now working as expected. Okay, and then it's working as expected. So that's it. So we can remove this, we don't need this part, and I believe our form is ready for we can remove this also, we can remove this, and then that makes it even more easier for us to have a more concise form by simply having it this way. And also here we can just have it this way, and that's it. Let's see if we left anything out. No, and our form is ready for takeoff. So we say like on submit, let's just add one handler for const on submit form. We will say this: when a user submits, they should get the payload that we are going to send. It will be username, and actually let's not call them like this. Do we call them? No. Let's see. Let's just call them username password, just to make things a bit more. Username, let's say new value. The new value is a username like that, and then so this new value. This one, they will not have effect on one another because they are local variables to this callback. So they only have effects with the global ones. Okay, and the global ones are the ones that are outside the scope of the return. So, and then the password part, we just copy the password, and then we can just say username and then password, and then finally we can successfully say payload will be payload, and that's it. The form, when we submit it, we have that. All right, I think that's it. Let's see, let's test our whole flow. So we say like a user, they will come here, let's say like let's just mock a complete user flow. A user opens the app, they are going to be redirected by default to the login page. They can go to sign up, but we have not worked on sign up yet. They go back here, they say maybe then and then I say my password 123. I say this okay. I log in, I should see my password as 123 and username as Ben. Okay, so far that's it, and I believe we have worked on so many things, and I believe you have understood so many things so far. But you see this, how it does, like it doesn't look so nice. When I click here, it pushes content up. So let's fix that in a few minutes. Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we make sure that our keyboard does not push content up? Okay, first of all, you have to go back to your Android manifest file. Just open it. Then this part here, locate Android Windows Soft Input Mode. Then instead of adjust resize, because that's what it's doing, like it's adjusting the resize to accommodate for the keyboard. Okay, all you need to do is just say adjust pan and then save it. But it doesn't do anything yet. Even if you like exit the app like this, then you open it, even if you close it and then you open it, nothing. Yeah, so all you need to do is simply this, like nothing, it still pushes. So all you need to do is this, npm run Android once again to rebuild your application. Then you should be having that fixed. Let's wait for it to finish, and then we come back again, we open it once more, and it's fixed. So you enter your name maybe, and then your password, and then all is good. Then like the form can be submitted. Okay, so we say like that, then we say that the form can be submitted. We clear everything, form cannot be submitted. Okay, so I believe that's it. And I believe now the next step is, now we'll be working on the sign up screen view. So sign up should not be as tedious because we had to cater for so many things in the login part. So hopefully you learned something, and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to ask, and if you recommend any improvements, also your opinions are more than welcome. Okay, thank you, and hopefully see you in the next one.